Hello, good morning. Um,
Okay.
so my name is Amit
Wait,
Arel,
can
and
you
I'm a
take the, just take this one?
partner.
I'm still on. I'm still on.
Just we're hearing you backstage, FYI, so don't say anything nasty. So my name is Amit Arel. I'm a partner with Deloitte, Deloitte Catalyst, our ecosystem platform here in Israel, and I have the great opportunity to host what we see, and hopefully no one will be offended, is the most important panel of the day. This is about ending fossil fuel mobility or fossil fuel based mobility. But it's going to be so much more than that, and we're going to speak about sustainability in the most broad way. Now, I don't know if you saw this, but just yesterday, there was a new study coming, I think, from the UN, that there is a 50-50 chance that by 2026, not 2050, 2026, the world temperature will go up 1.5 degrees, which, by the way, is the red line. So when there's an industry like mobility that is in charge overall roughly of a third of the emission, what does that mean for the future? So that's what we're going to focus on today. And we're going to have a very interesting conversation. We have an amazing set of panelists, and we'll start by our panelists introduce themselves. Geoffrey in France, Jeffrey in Israel. So Jeffrey will start.
Hi everyone, my name is Jeffrey. I'm the CTO of Valeo. So Valeo Group, we are a technology provider, tier one supplier actually worldwide, delivering a system that enable greener and safer mobility. So basically, put it simply, 90 more percent of our revenues are generated with technologies that reduce CO2 emissions or ensure safety.
Good morning, very excited to be here. My name is Raymond Zhang. I'm the manager director of Honda Accelerator, which is an organization that's based out of San Jose, but we have a global operation. If you for entrepreneurs, think about us as the door to Honda, right? So we cover anything that Honda do, including in cars, boats, and all that. That's traditional technology areas as well as the new ones. Yeah, so we're there for the entrepreneurs to come and we do introductions, we do POCs, and hopefully will lead to strategic engagement with Honda, including investments and M&A as our part of our future. So.
Hi, I'm very happy to be here again. My name is Dominique Freckman. I'm the director for innovation and technology for TE Connectivity, a global provider for highly engineered connector and sensor solutions. So. Hardcore hardware. We provide on a component level the solid foundation, anything from high-speed data, power, signal, high voltage. And I'm very happy and excited to check out the innovative solutions out there.
Good morning. I'm Doron Meyersdorf, CEO and co-founder of StoreDot. StoreDot is a startup in Herzliya, not far from here, focusing on the chemistry of the battery, producing batteries that can charge in minutes as opposed to hours. So we work really on the key materials that go into the battery with about 40 PhDs and operations around the world. We are redesigning the next generation batteries.
Amazing. And I'm just shocked that we set in the same order. It's like a perfect storm. I don't know what to do with that. So we're going to start with a question for everyone, which is, we're going to do two of these, one in the beginning and one in the end. But any fossil-based mobility sounds like a very vague promise, right? I came on stage, said 1.5 degrees, but what we actually do? And what I want you and we have very unique perspectives here that are different, to hear very quickly from each one, what does it actually mean for you, ending fossil-based mobility? So Jeffrey, starting with you.
Okay, actually, I would say two things. The first one, it's embedded in our DNA in a way that it's not new for us. It's like more than 10 years that we decided strategy shifting. We're going to focus on CO2 emission reductions products, developments. So we have built this roadmap where we focus on electrification, powertrain, electronics, how do you make that more efficient? So that's our job, actually, so on the product roadmap. And a second, if I were to resume as well, it's a company policy somehow. So a year ago, we decided that we have to commit publicly as well, and we make sure that everyone is aware and committed within the company to ensure this SBTi commitment 1.5 degree, as you said, which is gonna come a little bit sooner than anyone expected. So we have to make that happen. And this is really a global commitment coming from every network. I mean, the sales in order to discuss with OEMs, how do we make that happen? But also with suppliers from us, how do we make that happen? And it's exactly what we're focused on.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very important question for Honda. I don't know if you know, Honda actually makes more internal combustion engines than any other OEMs, right? So this is really a particular challenge for Honda, right? So we have to commit, and that will be helping the environment if you can commit to change that, right? So we set out to have targets of what we need to do as a corporate. We actually have plans in flight or being made, and we also committed resource to fix that. So let me just speak briefly on these 3 points. There's targets, of course. Of course, now with this new news, we might have to change that a little bit, but we have the target to be net zero, like carbon-free by 2050 at a time, right? So we have to take a look at it again. We also, committed the target to sell, for all the cars that so the biggest market was North America, to be electrified by 2040. Again, let's take a look at that. We actually have plans to look at things around how to address this challenge with, for example, advanced batteries for cars, right? Maybe a swappable battery for motorcycle, which is a big area for us as well. We need to look at alternative fuels for aviation. That's part of our businesses. We also need to look at fuel cells as an alternative that potential becoming. In terms of commitment of resources, some of the announcements we made is around, for instance, they are announcing, or they already announced, we're going to put 5 trillion yen. I want to use that number because it sounds big. But it's actually $40 billion for
Everybody
R&D.
are going on XC to do the exchanges. So how much is in dollars?
That's $40 billion for 10 years R&D in electrification and software. We also, this is actually a great opportunity for startups here. We are also committed, again, $2 billion, which is about $70 million per year for investment to helping the startups and the partners. So
Early stage, later stage, because people here are
all stages,
your,
all stage, shape, and sizes.
are pinging you on LinkedIn right now.
Yeah,
Okay,
all stages, yes.
excellent.
Yeah.
Dominique?
Yeah, there is nothing vague for us. It's for several years very specific, very concrete in our solutions that we offer. I like to look at the big picture. So at the start of generating renewable energy, we are there when it comes from the solar cells, from the wind turbines. We provide the connectivity all the way through the grid, smart grid, more efficient delivery of electricity, all the way charging inlet into the car, the connectors within the car. We take care of all this. And I think when it comes to addressing new trends such as ultra-fast charging, the materials, the design, we take care of any electron and know how to manage and handle this and help you guys.
That's a great slogan. We take care of every electron.
Every electron
Every
counts.
electron.
Every
Go on.
electron counts, yes.
Use that as a logo.
Doron.
So I think the problem is really very urgent, and we think about 8 years investment and so forth. But the number one barrier for adoption of electric vehicles is the range anxiety. Some people also add the charging anxiety. So the range anxiety is if you'll get stuck on the highway because you don't have enough range, and the charging anxiety is if you come to the charging station and there's a long line ahead of you, you need to wait for like a couple of hours. So we are here to solve that and help Honda and the other OEMs basically accelerate the adoption in a dramatic way. We are already providing batteries that fully charge in 10 minutes. That this is making the experience of the driver exactly like fueling. And we believe this will be the hockey stick of acceleration of electric vehicles.
Yeah, so it's actually a great segue to our next question, because I mentioned third of the world emission comes from automotive and fossil-based fuel. Electrification, if we look outside, a lot of EV solutions, everybody are talking EVs, and we're looking for accelerators. So you spoke about one, which is a fast charging, and this one, Doron, Raymond, want your perspective, and of course Dominique and Jeffrey, if you want to chime in, but in addition to faster charging time, what else do you think can be an accelerator for the adoption of electrification?
So many things need to happen in the ecosystem. It's not just the battery. You need the smart grid to be upgraded so people, as they go to work, can charge. You need the charging stations themselves to be very powerful. We are looking at 350 kilowatt each station plus. So if you want a Tesla, let's say, to charge in 5 minutes, you need almost 700 kilowatt. These things are not available yet. So, for example, we've received one of our investors is BP, British Petroleum, but we're also talking to Shell, Mobile, Total, all these guys. They all understand that somebody has moved the cheese. Something needs to happen in the entire ecosystem, and the petrol stations will need to be fully repurposed for charging stations, and many things need to happen in order to enable this.
Excellent. Raymond, your take?
Yeah, so we cover a lot of areas, right? So I think outside of government support incentive, I think the most important thing is technology advancement for us, right? The way I think about this is supply and demand. So on the demand side, exactly, advancement in technology needs to address some of these consumer-facing problems and challenges, including safety and range anxiety. But on the supply side, I really hope technology advancement can help OEMs to lower the cost, because if it doesn't make sense, if OEM cannot be profitable or sustained. So that's why we're here, engaging with startups, because all these actually needs to come from innovations.
And thank you. And I think one of the, we are speaking about fossil-based fuel, electrification, sustainability is all part of this very big ESG agenda that we're all seeing and hearing around. But I think one of the more challenging aspects is that when you say ESG these days, everybody are saying different things. So when we're looking, Dominique, Jeffrey, when we're looking at metrics of how you actually want to measure your, I would say, the greener movement, right? What would be what you're doing internally, and what would be your recommendation for others?
Well, there's a lot of standards by now. You have ISO standards for life cycle assessments, for carbon footprints. So there is the company carbon footprint. There is a product carbon footprint where you have really, you can calculate equivalence. And this is what we do. We look at all of our products and calculate the impact that it has. And things like the Science-Based Initiative, this is a great way to get really everybody on board.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, I would complement actually. We use as well the Science-Based Target Initiative as a framework. And you see, it is honestly very challenging from the R&D side, which I represent here, because you now speak not only about euros, it is very important, and we'll come back to that, about the affordability of this kind of new innovations, but also it brings back another kind of KPI, which is the CO2. So how do we measure CO2? And this is exactly the conversation we are having, not only, let's say, at R&D, but in the plants, with everyone in charge. And to give you, let's say, an idea of where Valeo is actually. So we have 50 megatons per year somehow. It's the carbon footprint of our company. Essentially, it's not scope 1 and 2 for the one that know what it means. So direct emissions, we're not there. So it's only like 2% of there. Then you have 20%, which is the relationship we're having with upstream. So all the discussions we're having with the suppliers. So how do you engage with them? How do you make more conversations towards CO2 commitments? Exactly. What does that mean for them? What does that mean for us? How do you reduce weight? How do you use new materials? So this is a very bad part of it. And if you calculate right, it's like 78% resting for innovation. So how the people will use in the end, within the car or within every kind of electrified form factor, this, let's say, rolling device that will be used and the energy will be used. So how do you nudge, how do you design new types of, form factors that help the mobility to be greener? So it's really, really related for us as, let's say, innovation.
Okay, so basically, innovation equals sustainability, sustainability equals innovation, which is very, very interesting. And Jeffrey, I want to stay with you and kind of pile on something that Doron mentioned and also Raymond addressed, which is how do you, there's a top-bottom approach, and we spoke about metrics, we spoke about government, we spoke about the OEMs, but there is a bottom-up, right? The consumers. And sometimes the consumers are the best driver because, pun intended, they're actually buying the vehicles, right? And if it's not going to be in a certain standard, they're not going to buy it. So what do you think, Jeffrey, starting with you, are kind of the ways to change the current mindset of consumer and push them first to be more confident, to Doron's point, but also to be more comfortable around electrification?
Well, I would say there is no one-size-fits-all solution for sure. And this is why also it's very exciting to be locally everywhere, because every ecosystem will have its own solutions to be inclusive, to be affordable, and to be versatile. To give you examples, we're very much involved in the development of three-wheelers, electric three-wheelers in India. You don't want that to happen everywhere in the world, but it might be the right solution to have a solution like that, three-wheelers electric, in India, to ensure this kind of nudge. You won't sell probably EVs or big chunks of large volume EVs. That's not the solution there. Or K-car, electric K-car in Japan. So every ecosystem has to find its solutions, or have in mind, for instance, if you want to nudge again those solutions, you have to define RVs in the US, where you can use actually the grid from the RV to have an electric barbecue. That's exactly what's happening right now. So, but you have to implement really local systems where innovation is really local.
So local innovation. Doron?
Well, I think I totally agree with Jeffrey that you need a range of solutions. So I heard Elon Musk yesterday talking about Tesla Model 3, that they will have a model that is even lower in cost and lower in performance. And this is also what we do exactly with batteries. Some of the battery technology is cheaper, but doesn't allow the same range. For example, it's called LFP, lithium ferro phosphate, which is iron cathodes. So we are looking at that as well, but the winning solution, which is more high-end, is NMC, nickel, manganese, and cobalt, that we are currently using. So we'll need to tailor a fast-charging solution to each segment of the market, but everybody needs fast charge. It doesn't matter if it's a low-end or a high-end. You need to be able to provide the driver an experience that would not be a nuisance. Then again, the number one barrier of adoption is the charging anxiety.
And just before we move to the next question, Raymond, hearing what Jeffrey and Doron shared, is there an incentive for the OEM to drive the conversation with consumers and to go greener? Like I don't know if it's incentives, it's prices, like there's activeness, or you're reacting to the market?
Well, we are not reacting. So we actually have a green dealership, actually, and you can call that as consumer. We actually have a green dealership program that was started a while back. And as Honda also, we also tracking sort of sustainable report to provide the visibility of what we're doing in a sustainable side. So basically it's definitely clear.
Excellent. And we're coming closer to the end, and I do want to make sure that we go through some pointers as well. But before that, when we started speaking about this panel, when you think about, if you ask the people in the audience, you think about fossil fuel mobility, you think about the vehicle, right? You focus on the car, you speak about the engine, the battery, the different parts, but we know that it's so much bigger than that, right? There's a whole value chain. There is manufacturing, there is delivery, there is supply chains, there is the actual dealerships, the aftermarket, et cetera, et cetera. So Dominique, starting with you, how you and others should think around this broader concept of sustainability across the entire value chain?
Yeah, we like to use the concept of the zero emission company, and there's two aspects there I would like to highlight. One is the design piece, and the other one is the manufacturing piece. So we have our internal initiative focus on design for sustainability, which really starts at what do we need to make and how do we make it? Do we choose the right materials, eco-friendly, bio-based materials if possible, combine it with the process to reduce scrap, to have faster, more efficient manufacturing. So really, how do we make all of our components? And then the second piece is the manufacturing piece. We have a local for local approach. So we look at where are the things used, where are our customers, to make sure there's production and assembly close to where it gets used. So we reduce some of these transportation piece. And then also that we power our operations with renewable sources. And I think this pays off. We got now named to the Dow Jones Sustainability Index for the 10th year in a row. We're quite proud of that.
Amazing. You can clap for that, by the way. It's a really amazing number. So Raymond, again.
So my view of the universe around Honda really, first of all, we start with the core. We have transportation tools and modalities around everything on the road, like motorcycles, cars, right? But we also have air and have water. So that's like the basic core. But on top of it, I think the time of innovation is ripe to think about the services, the consumer experience, and also how we build this, how we supply chain, how the supply chains, all these needs to be using innovations from the community to address sustainability. That's really how we see these things. It's much more than just the cars and motorcycles.
Which means that if I'm an entrepreneur beyond just an auto tech, but in sustainability, Industry 4, retail experience, water
Exactly.
management,
It's all within our scope of possibility of.
and all should have your email and, and basically approaching you. And you can give your personal number and they will just text you 24/7, right?
Of course.
Of course. Excellent. So we're coming in very close to the end of the panel, and this is a question that I always like to ask because we always have entrepreneurs in the audience, and we are here to basically give insights from the industry and help them be more successful on their journey. So what I would like to do, and Doron, starting with you as the entrepreneur here in the panel, if you can give one advice for entrepreneurs here that are either starting or have started companies, and how they can actually move faster and accelerate to disrupt the industry.
I think you need to solve a real problem, and just having a nice technology or a nice idea where you can make some money, it really doesn't worth the effort. At the end of the day, you're going to invest a lot of your time and well-being and health in building a company. And it needs to be really significant in the problem that you're solving and how it's going to impact the world. So, initially when we started StoreDot, we were looking at smartphones and charging of power tools and things like that. But at the end of the day, we thought, where will be the biggest impact? And also when I'm looking at companies here that are successful, for example, Innoviz or Karamba Security or Kara, that is a beginning stuff, they are all solving something that is really crucial. And it really worth the effort of their time and well-being.
Thank you. Dominique?
I do like the sustainability aspect, and when I think of reduce, reuse, recycle, circularity, I like to focus on the reduce aspect. And I think besides sustainability, we have seen that scarcity has been another big trend, especially recently. So anything you can do to make things leaner, faster, more efficient, I'm up for it.
Excellent. Raymond?
Yes, thank you. So I want to address your one point with two words, smart and patient, right? When I meant smart, it doesn't really, what I meant was OEMs are complex in terms of organization. When entrepreneurs want to work with OEM, be smart, find a group like us, right? We actually serve as proxy for entrepreneurs. We navigate the complexity within our organization. So if you want to be efficient, find us. Patient, of course. OEM runs at different speed than startups. And before I joined Honda, I don't understand why is it so slow, like OEM so slow. But there was really good reason for it after I came in. Trust me, it's about safety. It's about being able to build product that lasts a long time. So really appreciate that patience.
So smart and patience. Excellent. Jeffrey?
I would be pragmatic as well. Use the top-down and bottom-up approach. Both of them are really useful. Those are long problems that require a lot of exchanges with every kind of, let's say, levels, because it has a meaning at some. Okay.
Yeah, you want something. We'll tell you later.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but basically, come to us. We like that, and disruptions are very important for us. So we like that. Disruption is what we have at breakfast, at lunch, and at dinner at Valeo. So we like that. So happy to get any connection with us as well.
Excellent. So we're at the end of our panel. And maybe before thank you, I'll end with what we've started, which is when we sat in the green room and we came on stage. This is a really important topic, right? For us, for the future, our families, humanity, and we're actually in seats that can shape this. And of course, this industry can be a big driver in that. So with that, I really like to thank Doron, Dominique, Raymond, Jeffrey for your time. To thank the audience for listening, and have a great EcoMotion 2022. Thank you very much.
Bye.